Welcome to the Simply Neighbor podcast. My name is DeQuavian.
My name is Moses.
And we are Simply Neighbors. Thanks, Moses.
Thank you.
Yeah. Today, we're going to be diving into the art of building community with a look at Neighbor Night. It's a unique gathering designed to move people beyond traditional networking toward authentic connection. While many meetings are about presentations or promotions, Neighbor Night is built on the wisdom of neighbors. From the opening, new and good, check-in to the fast-paced marketplace where neighbors use noisemakers to keep things moving. This process is a tool for turning strangers into resources. And so just kind of to get us started, could you just tell our audience who you are, your name, how long you've lived in the area, and by area, like the neighborhood you live in?
Yeah. My name is Moses Ngong. I live in the Detroit Shoreway neighborhood, kind of between West 84th and West 81st, and I've been here for 5 years.
5 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, it's home.
Yeah, and how did you like get into the neighborhood? Where'd you like come from? Was it a long ways? Did you like come here for school, or what was your like kind of like connection to Cleveland?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky. I came to Cleveland from the Peace Corps in Mexico, actually. I did 2 years of service there. It cut a little bit short because of COVID. But my wife is an orthopedic surgeon. She's a resident right now in her medical training. And she matched here for her residency. And when she initially told me that she was interested in coming to Cleveland, I was definitely very against it. Obviously had heard bad things about Cleveland, nothing like specific, but, no one is really excited talking about Cleveland, Ohio, outside of Cleveland. But coming here, I feel like I've fallen in love with it, and I'm still trying to convince her to fall in love. But it's an amazing city. Detroit Shoreway is an amazing community, and I feel so lucky that we ended up here. We actually were looking at homes in the suburbs originally. Not the crazy suburbs, but like, Shaker or Lakewood. And we found this place where we're sitting right now on Facebook Marketplace. So shout out to Facebook Marketplace and shout out to Detroit Shore. It's really welcomed me and been an amazing place to get to know the city from.
That's awesome. I feel like I had a similar experience myself. I came because of Stephanie. She wanted to dance. And the only thing I heard about Cleveland was the Cleveland Browns. And I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, Cleveland? But, man, this city has really grown on me.
I'm happy to hear that.
So rooted in the city. I love it. I love it. And so
I'm glad.
I'm glad you're here as well. And we're, getting to know this city together. And so in the spirit of just neighbor night and really community, I wanted to start off by doing a new and good.
Love it.
And so what's happening in your life? Perhaps maybe it's a personal milestone or a challenge you've recently overcome. What's new and good?
Right. Something new for me, which is also good, and this happens a lot when we do new and good. New often overlaps with good. Is I'm starting a new job on Tuesday. I'm going to be a program manager with a national nonprofit called Citizen University.
Oh, that's awesome.
Honestly, it's kind of like trying to scale up the work that I've been doing with Neighbor Night to a national level. Citizen University's project is trying to create a civic culture outside of elections and build community between Americans of different backgrounds. And so I'm so excited about the project. And that's what's new and good for me. What's new and good for you?
New and good for me. Let's see. Well, I'm experiencing a work transition right now, and something like so good that's kind of come out of this is just like the love from the community around me. It has been really like, I don't even know, man. Just like love. And so, when I said I feel rooted in this place, I really do mean it. The people have been so helpful and kind, checking in on me. And there's like been a family who's like, hey, you can come over every night for a meal. And I was like, what?
That's
every
amazing.
Night? So they're like every night. And at first I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go. But they text me and just like follow up. It's like, are you coming over dinner or like what's going on?
Wow.
Yeah. I just feel very loved, seen, and known. And
Mm.
so, yeah, that's pretty new, and that's like really good. It's unexpected good, but it's
Wow.
a really good.
Yeah. I mean, that's a testament to the love we have for Cleveland. I think, that's what the city will do for you. People really show up. And I also think, I know you won't brag about yourself, but that's a testament to the investment that you've made in community, that people want to show up for you in that way. So
I
it's really
appreciate
beautiful.
that. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and so I want to like kind of zoom in now more into neighbor night. Actually, what is neighbor night? Like, how would you describe it to someone who maybe has never attended?
Definitely. So neighbor night is a monthly gathering. The word gathering is important, and you actually used it earlier. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it's a monthly gathering of neighbors here in the Detroit Shore area to build community, to discuss ways to make our neighborhood a better place to live, and to share resources with each other without having to use a nonprofit as an intermediary for any of those things. Not that I have a ton of love for nonprofits. Obviously, I'm going to be working for one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Neighbor Nate is a gathering by neighbors and for neighbors to build community in a neighborhood that, in Detroit Shoreway, which is rapidly gentrifying, there are some things that will prevent it from totally gentrifying, which is good. We have a good amount of affordable housing in the neighborhood, but it is rapidly gentrifying. But we don't yet have places where the diversity of the community is seen and intentionally curated or brought together. And so Neighbor Night is an attempt to create a space where if you're a neighbor that's been here for a month or been here for your whole life, or if you're a neighbor with a lot of money or a neighbor with less money, that you can come, feel comfortable, participate, and contribute to meetings as a peer.
You said intention. I've gone to neighbor night both on the east side and the west side, and I've gone and visited the neighbor night that you host. It is a very intentional like space, and there's kind of like a recipe they have
Yeah.
for success for the night. They do the check-ins, business network. Can you
Right.
kind of like walk us through the different main parts of the evening?
Definitely. So there are 4 major parts of every neighbor night. So, DeQuaven, you just mentioned the check-in, the business of the network. Then there's the marketplace, and then there's bumping and sparking. So the check-in is what we did at the beginning of this podcast. It's new and good. It's an opportunity for everyone to introduce themselves, say where they live in the neighborhood, and then set a positive tone for the conversations that we'll have. So instead of just saying, hey, my name's Moses, or asking people, hey, what's your name? How are you feeling? By starting with new and good, we're asking people to check in with a positive version of themselves, right? It's not to say that if you're in a heavy place that you're not welcome at Neighbor Night. Of course you are. But we want to set a joyous tone, a welcoming tone, invite people to settle into positive feelings for our time together, because so many times when neighbors get together, we're inclined to complain. New and good is an attempt to say, okay, we're here, but we're here in community to build something together. So that's the check-in. That's the first part of the evening. Then we do something called the business of the network. And there are different names for business of the network. In Cleveland, we call it business of the network. In North Carolina, they might call it table talks. But business of the network is kind of the biggest part of the meeting. And that's where we're talking about ways to make the community better, questions that we have that will unify us as neighbors. So the way it works is that anyone that's at the meeting can ask a question. A question might be, what are resources for kids during the summertime to keep my kids engaged? A question might be, there's a lot of trash on my street. Does anyone have ideas about how to keep the street clean? So people will introduce a question, and then we'll break out into small groups as neighbors and talk about those questions together. Those questions are really cool because the way that we tell people to have those conversations, it's not like if you ask the question, then you get to talk about your issue the whole time, right? So if that person that asked about trash on their street, they can't just complain about the trash on their street. No, you're asking neighbors the question and like, what ideas do they have, and bouncing off of each other. After we break out into the small groups to talk about questions, we come back to the big group, debrief. If people have thoughts on groups they weren't able to join, they share them then. And then we go into the part of the meeting that's my favorite part of the gathering and also very substantial, called the marketplace. And the marketplace is an opportunity to share resources or make statements of intention to the community and the people in the room that night. And so the way that works is that you can do three things in the marketplace. You can make an offer, make a request, or make a declaration. So an offer is exactly what it sounds like. I have an extra toaster oven. Funnily, I actually do have an extra toaster oven right behind me.
Oh, wow.
But I have an extra toaster oven. Does anyone need a toaster oven? A request is something that you need from community or are seeking. And so it could be, I'm looking for a car mechanic. I just moved into the neighborhood. Does anyone have a recommendation for a car mechanic? I need a desk. I just moved. Does anyone have a desk to help me get my home office set up? So requesting things, and it can be material, like I said, toaster oven, car mechanic, or it can be wisdom. I've requested in Marketplace, as an example, that I have a strained relationship with my siblings, and I want to figure that out. And so you can invite emotional questions into the Marketplace as well, requests or offers. And then a declaration is a good intention that you want to share with neighbors, or an intention, a statement that you want to share with neighbors. For example, a declaration might be, this year I want to eat more vegetables. A declaration might be, 4 months from now, I'm going to start working out more. You know, it's kind of like just an intention that you want to share with the space and offer, or invite maybe a little bit of accountability from neighbors on this declaration, but it's different from a request in that way. And then, you know, you can technically pass if you don't want to do any of those things. That's my least favorite option, but it's an option. So we have the check-in, the business in the network, the marketplace, and then we have bumping and sparking. So bumping and sparking is if you made an offer, a request in the marketplace, that's your chance to connect with someone that might have to offer it. So if I make an offer in the marketplace, I have an extra toaster oven. If DeQuavian needs an extra toaster oven, you'll raise your hand and you'll say match. And so then I make eye contact with you and we acknowledge that we're going to talk after the marketplace is over. If someone made a statement, I want to eat more vegetables, a declaration, I will go up to them and say, hey, I actually have this vegetarian cookbook that's been amazing for me. Would you be interested in borrowing it? So really it's just an opportunity to kind of share space with each other, catch up. You know, we don't have a lot of informal catch up time in neighbor night, but that's intentional. But the bump and spark is the space for people to catch up and, you know, talk with neighbors. So that's a little overview of neighbor night. We have the check-in, the business in the network, the marketplace, and then bumping and sparking.
Yeah, that's dope. And I want to try to zoom in on each, so that people could really just kind of just get a good taste of the flavor, because that's the recipe. But when you actually eat it, man, it's good. And there's reasons why things get put in the recipe.
Right.
So I just kind of want to hop into that a bit, because even the check-in, for example, even the way we kind of just started off the podcast. For me, I shared about the work transition, and that could be a very heavy thing. One for me personally, but just for anyone who's navigating these things. But to go to a meeting and the first thing is just positive energy. It's you're recognizing, yes, there's thorns. We all feel them, but there's blooms. I think this is a very beautiful thing, and I really hope that people don't miss that, because I think sometimes when you think about community groups or neighborhood meetings, you're thinking the angry block club,
right?
Everybody's about to yell and fight. Parks and Rec, it's crazy. There's somebody talking about something so random, doesn't make any sense, and it's just super heated. And there's a lot of heated energy and just thoughts and voices,
contentious,
social media, in the world. But to come to a space, and the first thing is to say hey, there's an abundance and it's right here in the room. How beautiful is that?
Man, yeah, you said it so well. Yeah. I think I've tried to start introducing check-ins in other professional meeting spaces, because it's just a powerful way of setting the tone, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's one of my favorite parts of just the night is the check-in. Because of that, it just sets the tone so well. And so the business of the network, I want to kind of go a little bit deeper on that.
Yeah, you just spoke about, community meetings, and meetings are so often contentious. People are there because they want to complain about something to someone that they perceive has power in the community. and I should say in a Block Club meeting, again, they'll frame the topics of the night in terms of old business and new business. Old business is stuff we talked about the last meeting. New business is stuff we're introducing today. Mm-hmm. In the business and the network, when I introduce it at Neighbor Nights, I always say here there's no old business or new business. It's all our business and your business. At a Block Club meeting, it's almost always homeowners, and it's homeowners that have a way of doing things and an agenda that if you're showing up to the meeting, you usually don't have a chance to contribute to. And so in the business of the network, it's an attempt to say, no, we don't have an agenda here. Our agenda is whatever people want to talk about tonight. And we have people introduce it as questions because a question immediately invites a different reaction than an open forum where people will usually, again, unfortunately, lean into complaining. Mm-hmm. And when you ask someone a question, the part of your brain that's engaged when you're asked I'm not a psychologist, right?
Yeah.
But the part of your brain that is triggered when you're asked a question is very different than the part of your brain that you engage when someone says, there's trash everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. When someone frames things in terms of a complaint, I want to pile on with them. I want to go with them. If I'm agreeing with them, if I'm disagreeing with them, of course, it immediately invites tension. But when I'm asked a question, there's a lot of trash in my neighborhood. Does anyone have any ideas about how we can keep the streets cleaner? It invites us to share our wisdom and perspective instead of going into a mode that is like venting and complaining. Mm-hmm. And so, again, the first part, like, if you come to Neighbor Night, you can ask a question if it's your first meeting. And I love that. That is so important. If you've never been before, tonight's your chance to ask this thing you've been wondering about. That means a lot. And then framing it in terms of a question where it's not about, like, again, like us jumping on to each other's complaint. We're curious together. I think like inviting curiosity into a room and getting people to be curious together is such a powerful way of like creating connection. Yeah. And then the Neighbor Night team, when we break up into the small groups after the question has been asked, we're doing our best to make sure that no one's holding the microphone too long. Mm-hmm. Again, like we all know the neighbor that is at every meeting and they're holding the microphone the whole time to, get on their hobby horse, whatever it may be. At Neighbor Night, we're always as facilitators trying to make sure that the love is shared and that everyone that wants to contribute to the conversation has a chance to. So if I'm in a small group, I'll say, DeQuaven, you haven't said anything about this, but you're here. Like, do you have anything that you'd want to add? Instead of letting Moses, who asked the question, just like preach the whole time, right? Yeah. So it's really an attempt to, one, make sure that people know that they can and should be contributing to the space. And then two, allowing us to get curious together.
Yeah. And kind of how I'm digesting this and what I'm hearing is like the business of the network is a space to build, to share, to move, really, like a collective action. Like it is a place of power. You are asking a question, and whatever that question is, like people are invited to think collectively, how can they answer it, rather than being in a meeting where the question is actually not even a question, it's actually a statement. It's a declaration of really of consent. Like it is a blame thing where you've already abdicated responsibility and saying, that is your job. Why haven't you done that? This is saying, this is our job. What can we do to address the issue?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, this might come up later, but one of the more recent conversations that we had in Neighbor Night that stuck with me and is being advanced right now is we lost a neighbor here tragically to a car accident. She was struck by a car and then another car, almost right after, which was horrifying at an intersection that is notoriously unsafe. And, I think that people can and should complain about the preventable loss of a neighbor from traffic incidents, right? But we had a neighbor come to Neighbor Night, and the way that she introduced that, I hadn't heard about it before she brought it to Neighbor Night, but she asked it as a question. We lost a neighbor tragically in a car accident. How can we make this intersection safer and honor her life? And it invited, again, so much, of course, love for this neighbor, wisdom, and sincerity for people who like care about this person and they want to help. And I think that there's a version of that conversation that could happen that would be, the city is trash. Like they don't really care about, safety, pedestrian safety. This woman was such a saint, and but no one really cares about her. No, but we care about her. That's why we're here. That's why we're talking about it. And her question invited us to consider how we can show the love that we have for her publicly in terms of honoring her life in a memorial sort of way. And also technically, how can we make sure that no one ever has to pass away like this neighbor did? So yeah, that's like a really beautiful recent example of like how the business of the network gets us to brainstorm how to make things better together.
Yeah, and I love that. And I just for folks who are like listening, like hear us say, like when we're saying like complaint, we're not saying that no one can have grievances or like be angry or lament. Like what we mean by complaint here, in the context of this conversation, is the posture in which we gather and really build. You can't build by like blaming, shaming.
Right.
Is not a way to start any building. It doesn't motivate anybody to get started. All it does causes people to retreat. And so we're talking about complaint here. We're talking about a call to like really like justice through action.
Yes,
and this is
beautifully
a communal like movement that people are engaging in. And so you will say what you have to say. You would be honest with the thorns, but there is a recognition that things don't have to be this way, and that the people in the room have the power to change it.
Right.
We don't have to rely on someone elsewhere outside who may not have the knowledge, the skills, the heart, the resources. We don't have to abdicate responsibility to someone else. Like it's us.
I mean, you said it so well. I think that the word, we might have used it already, but we're talking around a little bit, is agency, right? Like a complaint is when we're like expressing discontent without acknowledging that we could have a role in things being different. Neighbor Night is all about agency. And when we're talking about something, we're trying to reconnect to our sense of agency. Because, I mean, speaking personally, of course, like when I feel bad about something, it's so easy to go downhill on myself. But when I'm in a place of, when I come from any issue from a position of curiosity and trying to remind myself, what can I do here? The way I approach an issue is totally different. Yeah. So really trying to reconnect people to their power, to their agency to affect change.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that when we're talking about this, it is not to say that we don't have systems in our lives that can and should do better. Politicians have roles. The city of Cleveland has a role to play, and we should hold them accountable to doing those roles well. But in Neighbor Night, we wouldn't necessarily have a conversation about how can we create a universal healthcare system for the United States of America, because that is something that is not necessarily in our sphere of influence. At Neighbor Night, which as a facilitator, my job is to redirect any question about something that is outside the sphere of influence to something that we can talk about as neighbors. So if someone says we should have universal health care in America, why don't we have universal health care in America? That is a question, right? Technically. But I might try to rephrase it as a facilitator as like, what are mechanisms in Cleveland to provide to get access to healthcare for a more reasonable cost? So we're pivoting to think about it more locally and specifically. And the truth is, like, unfortunately, we might not be able to find a way to get you an arm surgery for free. Yeah. But we can find ways maybe to get a healthcare reimbursement. We can let you know that the city of Cleveland, this is a real example just by chance, but that they had a debt elimination program to take away people's medical debt. So we, even when there are issues that are beyond our control, we can usually find a piece of it that we do have agency in and that people can help us out with. And so, again, like, us saying this isn't to say that we don't have big systems that we can and should be working to change, but when we're together as neighbors, we want to find ways to take advantage of our agency. So yeah, just to clarify.
That's good. And I've said it before on a podcast, this idea of just like abundance that's like kind of like just waiting for us in community. And I think this conversation really just like highlights that. Like if you're actually just able to see, if you have the eyes to see and the vision to see, there is abundance, like literally built into life, within fruits, trees, animals. The capability is there.
Yes.
And so
Beautifully said. I love that abundance mindset.
and so I think that is just really good. Can you kind of give us another example, if you have one, of the marketplace in action?
Definitely. Yeah. My favorite thing that's happened in Neighbor Night, one of my favorite things, is related to the marketplace. You know, the marketplace in some ways is kind of like a real life buy nothing group. If you put something in the marketplace, you're almost never trying to sell it. You're like saying, I have this thing, like, is anyone interested? And so one of my favorite examples from the marketplace is a woman that was from a lower income part of the community, came to Neighbor Night, and she said, I'm looking for bikes for kids on my street. Again, lived in a lower income part of the community. And there was someone at Neighbor Night that night from a wealthier part of the community that was like, actually, the church that I'm a part of has a bike giveaway program. And so they matched. And then at the end of that night, she walked away from Neighbor Night with 4 bikes for kids on her street, which for me is like an amazing example of the power of community, right? Yeah. Like we don't need to sign up for a wait list for the bike distribution program and then wait 2 months to maybe hear that actually we ran out of bikes. Yeah. That night, she connected with someone that was in a position to help her. Then a week later, I'm walking down the street because she's a neighbor, and I see kids riding the bikes that I saw her walk away with that night at Neighbor Night. And for me, it's like a beautiful example of the resources, the abundance that we have, right? Like that woman and that man were standing 10 feet apart that night. And it's not at all to say that I'm the reason that they were there, right? But we had a space for people from different parts of the community to be in proximity and intentionally engage with each other. And I don't think that we have enough of those spaces, right? Like one of and I'm going to go big picture here. Yeah. There's this amazing comic called The Two Clevelands, which I'd recommend to anyone to read. And they talk about networking and contact as 2 kind of ways of social engagement. Networking is where we have a shared interest, and so that's why we're in the room together. So, you know, business networking, like everyone knows, like, oh, we have similar jobs. Let's talk about our jobs. Even church is a form of networking where it's like, we believe in the same God. So we're here hanging out and talking about life, but we're here because of something we know we have in common. We have less opportunities than ever for contact in our society. Contact is when you're in line at the grocery store and, oh, I like your shoes. Oh man, I got them on sale at Foot Locker. Oh, no way. Which one? Oh, the one in East Cleveland. You know, like those little interactions that happen just because like someone's there, right? Yeah. You don't know that you have anything in common with them. And I want to believe that Neighbor Night is facilitating contact. It's creating a space for people that otherwise wouldn't have interacted to interact in an intentional way. They don't have anything in common except for their geographic proximity to each other. And so for me, that marketplace example, the marketplace in general, is an opportunity to remind each other of what we can do when we get close with people and the resources that exist that people want to share when they're invited to. Yeah. Yeah. So beautiful. Speaking of sharing and just marketplace, lived out real life, I legit going to have a conversation with you about that extra toaster oven. Real talk. But in more like really in the podcast, I think something that I kind of just like heard you say, and I want to highlight for us to like just really hear and see, is the importance of like the gathering spaces. I think about,
in one way, the literally Facebook Marketplace, was a gathering space that you use as a resource.
Yeah, that's a funny point.
Yeah, like to be able to like get a whole like apartment,
Yeah.
which is amazing. And then we heard you talk about like the marketplace in the context of Neighbor Night, where these people are like shoulder to shoulder, like those digital people that you chatted with, and like that beautiful thing happened. But the shoulder to shoulder relationships, it is such a beautiful thing, especially because the folks that like live in the neighborhood with you, like they are like with you. It's like in a different context, but like people you work with, you will likely see them way more than you will see your family members because you spend day in, day out with them.
Such a good point.
How like terrible would it be to like be in a neighborhood and like you live with really like in community with people like 10, 20 years and you never knew their name? Never knew that like when you ran out of like pepper for that like Thanksgiving recipe and you needed it right now and that's gonna make or break it because like your mom has let you do Thanksgiving for the first time, that you could just went over next door.
Did this happen to you?
No.
I was like, this is really specific.
Yeah, but like there's just so much like power there. Or like the fact I think about like in neighborhoods, and I realized this recently for myself is buying like a security system and things, not realizing, which is like good, feels more like safe and for some folks and for a time that was good for us, but our literal neighbors know our schedule way more than I thought like they did. And they like, if I just like talk with them more, like they would report if something happened. They will move a package for me to make sure that like it doesn't like get stolen or
of course
this or that, because
they'll invite you to dinner because you lost a job. It's beautiful.
So like there's just things like that just from the interactions.
I think there's a version of the American dream that's the white picket fence in a big yard, and if you think about it, that fence and that yard physically separate you from your neighbors, right? Like literally, like some people in our society would say it's my dream to be able to afford to live 30 minutes away from where I work, to pay for gas, to pay for a car that I'll drive in by myself to get to work. And then I'll live in a suburb where I can't walk on the sidewalk and the people that I interact with are at work, maybe at church, and that's it, right? And we live in a city, you and I. We live in this city, and by being citizens of a city, of an urban environment, we have access to these amenities that people aren't really investing in. I think those amenities are sometimes material, right? Like proximity to the grocery store. We're closer. We don't have to pay for parking for games because we can take the bus instead of having to, again, drive 30 minutes. But then there's also the social amenities. Like we are so much closer to so many more people. How do we take advantage of that? And how do we make sure that we're taking full advantage of the privilege that we have of living in this big urban setting?
Yeah. Is there other tools that you've learned or have kind of like been a part of in your work or just like life beyond Neighbor Night that you've like seen as good ways to make connections?
Definitely. I mean, there are infinite tools. I think, and this is something I'm going to be thinking about with my new job, like what are the ways to foster connections between people organically in ways that are sustainable. I mean, the unromantic, unsexy answer is something like a Google group.
Yeah.
And I am a part of a Google group for this street. It's not a block club, but it's like, oh, wait, there are a bunch of cops on the street. Does anyone know why that's happening? Hey, my kids are selling fruit from our backyard. Does anyone want to buy some? So, and those are sincere ways of connecting with people. I think a really cool example that actually a couple of neighbors did here was, for example, we have a couple train stations in the neighborhood. And one thing that they did was they set up a coffee table outside of one of those train stations. They bought donuts and coffee and literally just invited people to come have a sip of coffee with them while they waited for the train. Hey, what's up? How you doing? You know, what's going on? I think that's a really beautiful, simple example of like, it doesn't take much to buy coffee for 40 people. But in paying for that coffee and connecting with those people, you're sponsoring connection in a way that, again, otherwise wouldn't have existed. I think spending time at parks is a tool. Like spending time at public spaces where like you're exposed to people doing life and you can connect with them. Oh, I love Frisbee. Can I join y'all? Oh, this sandcastle your kid made is so impressive. How old are they, right? Like being in places with people that are not like you. And it's, again, like I'm pretty extroverted, so that stuff is like relatively intuitive for me. Maybe you're introverted, but thinking about putting yourself in proximity to other people as much as you can, taking a walk in the morning, and maybe you take a walk at the same time every day and wait, oh, that guy walks his dog at the same time every day. I'll introduce myself. I live a couple houses down the street, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think that there are more tools that are a little bit more formal that we don't have as much access to in Cleveland. You know, maybe like a civic tool like participatory budgeting is really cool, bringing people together from different backgrounds. But yeah, those are a few examples of tools, practices.
Yeah.
Especially more than tools, but practices.
Yeah, I think that's probably like the better word for it.
Yeah.
Practices. Yeah, because like you said, you can be extroverted, introverted, and like still do these things. It's really just allowing yourself to like be more proximate to your community and like what's around you. It's like zooming in instead of out. Not driving, you're taking a bike. Better yet, you're walking. Allowing yourself to be in positions where you might be disrupted.
Right.
Instead of going to a coffee shop, go to the library.
Yes, that's such a good point. I think one of the things that, again, is like a point that's underlying a lot of the stuff we've talked about is like an idea of efficiency and speed that gets in the way of connecting with other people, right? Like I'm going to be in the self-checkout line and I'll save 4 minutes, but I won't interact with another human being in the process, right? And for me, that's like not me necessarily, but like for many people, that's a good thing. I get out of the grocery store 10 minutes faster. I'm going to drive instead of taking the bus. I'm going to save 15 minutes. And I think like there are sometimes literal costs associated with these things, right? Like my car personally is one of my least favorite things that I own. Not because I don't love listening to my music with the sound all the way up, but because it costs a lot of money for me to have, and it's an asset, quote unquote, that is always depreciating.
Yeah.
And is really, but as it depreciates, it stays expensive, right? Like I have to pay for gas, I have to pay for insurance, all these things. And last year, real example, one of our cars broke down, and I had to take, because my wife is a doctor, she has a much more sensitive job than I do. I had to take public transportation for about 6 months. And I honestly loved it. It was, yes, everything took longer, but I did connect with people a couple times on the bus.
Yeah.
And times when I otherwise would have been, again, by myself, listening to a podcast or listening to music. I was able to create space to do things that I wouldn't be able to if I was driving a car myself, right? I was responding to work emails, just catching up, so I wasn't worried about little life admin things that I otherwise would have to do when I got home at the end of the day. But I was in a space that was more affordable, one, than owning a car. And of course, also like gave me space to connect with people and do things that I needed to do. Yeah. And also it's a great way of observing your city.
Yeah.
Like there are often characters on the bus, you know? And if you don't want to interact with them, put your headphones on, look at your phone, fine. If you do want, to have a conversation, take your headphones off.
Yeah,
like,
you don't need cable.
Yeah, exactly.
Life is beautiful.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of fun things in life.
And I mean, I think, again, like urban life is so rich. The Cleveland Downtown Library is gorgeous on the outside and on the inside. It was used as a shooting location for the new Superman movie. Just a shout out to the Downtown Library. And I think that I consider it to be kind of a responsibility to get to know the place that you live, right? Like there are so many people that live in Cleveland or greater Cleveland that have never been to the Downtown Library to see just how beautiful this place is. There are people that live in Cleveland that have never been to their rec center. They don't know that their rec center has a free pool, a free sauna, free pottery classes. If you live in this area, literally, our
karate gym.
Exactly. The Cadell Rec Center has a free pottery studio, right?
And they're updating it, and you can get feedback for it right now.
Yes. Like these are things that cost like $100 a month to have access to in some places, right? They are free. They are provided by the city. And in going to them, you will connect with people that share your interests, right? In going to the library and like you're looking at books in the same section. Oh, I read that. It was so good, right?
Yeah.
It is our responsibility, if you want to connect, to facilitate those connections. And I think if you want to connect with people that are different than you, which I think is a really important part of social fabric building, that's why I do Neighbor Night. You got to put yourself out there. You got to expose yourself to people that might not necessarily be in your lane of interest, but they're in your physical proximity more often than not.
Yeah. And any like final words of wisdom or encouragement that you might have for someone who is on the fence as it relates to just kind of stepping out or getting started, just with not neighboring in the sense of like, I'm going to do a block party, but neighboring just to kind of open their eyes to these things for the first time?
I think that if I could offer any wisdom or encouragement, it's start with something that you like in your neighborhood, or in that is close to you. If you like movies, see if there's a movie theater in your neighborhood instead of driving out to the maybe nicer one in the suburbs that costs more money. If you like coffee, you could choose the fanciest shop that's 20 minutes away, or you could choose the one that's 2 minutes away walking. Try and connect with something that you like that's close to you. And I really promise that as soon as you start investing in community, community is going to start investing in you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. And the final note is Neighbor Night. If somebody wants to come visit Neighbor Night that you host, where does it happen? What time is it?
Yes, it's every third Wednesday of the month from 6 to 8 p.m. at Nehemiah Mission on West 65th and Bridge. Just Google Nehemiah Mission.
Yeah.
Every third Wednesday from 6 to 8, we're there. We serve food for free, and it's good food. It's not just pizza.
Yeah.
It's like a meal.
I've gone. It's very tasty.
Good.
Yeah. You guys had Frank's Falafel the one time I went.
Yes, Frank's is so good.
Yeah. Fun fact for listeners, I lived in the Nehemiah Mission for some time. My first year in Cleveland.
Very cool.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening.
Take care.